the entity. Yes, get entity by name. And this should be uObject. Yeah, I'm just not thinking this through. I'm just not thinking this through when I'm making it. It's like, we're not creating stuff by blueprint class. That's just not what we're doing. So stop trying to do that. I've lost my damn mind. I don't know. I don't know, Karen. I don't know if anybody can find it. Alright, so this object actually is a uentity proxy, as we expect. It's going to be like, okay, cool, and then we've created our actor and all that. And of course, if you look at it, I spawned it to the upright of Bitey, so it pops in, boom. Just comes rolling down the hill at us. Bam. And Fat Sack's so small we can just run over him. He's like, God, getting the hell out of here. This guy's standing on me. Where'd he go? He's gotta be behind this bush. Come out, Fat Sack. Get over here. We know where you are. You have to be. Yeah, there he is. That's good, Fat Sack. And Bitey can almost make it up that platform. Maybe he can with a running start, yeah. So, kind of what we have to do here is we need to be able to customize this actor after it's created. Is that correct? Well, the problem is we have this kind of post setup method here for like when we actually call set Dashkin entity proxy, or we call set Dashkin entity, is when we actually do our setup for our object. So all of that's going to have to change. So basically, like the We have to have like some sort of manual setup, or we need to clone a proxy and pass it in there, and the proxy's got to have all the things set up right. So I guess what we could do is we should have this set Dashkin entity proxy, and we should also take maybe a pointer to an override. Or the question is, we should make a clone of the entity proxy if we have anything overridden, and then we can just use that. But that might go out of scope. I mean, we're using U properties for all these things, so theoretically, no, they would stay in scope as we want them to. I think that's probably what we want to do. So we're going to need to know if we've overridden anything. I mean, we've overridden something if we're calling this. But it's basically either we're calling created actor with this stuff, and we need to set the entity proxy. So it's create entity actor from proxy. We're actually just calling set Dashkin entity proxy on this thing. So really what this is doing is like, we need this. So we need to create the Dashkin entity proxy, and we need the F transform. So if the proxy is null pointer, then we need to basically copy it. So it's going to be like proxy equals new object, any proxy star, and I want to clone it. So I think I did a clone sort of, is that inside of object utils? Well, I know I did it inside of the logic states and logic state groups. We did this new object entity proxy. We pass in an owner. We don't need an owner though. We're just gonna pass in null pointer. I mean, we could just, yeah. We pass in the proxy as kind of the starting thing. So that's going to be like proxy equals this. Alright, I'm slowly kind of getting this. So if the proxy is null pointer, then what we want to actually do is we don't have a base of reference. So we want to like, basically we want to clone this proxy regardless, but so we'll say like if the proxy clone does not equal null pointer, then it's basically like proxy clone equals this thing. Otherwise, we're just making a new entity proxy. And then we're going to override everything on the proxy itself. Alright, let's make sure this is working as we intend. Alright, it's the template argument is what you want. For variable like object class, you need this. Alright, so alright, so this is outer class name flags template. Alright, so I think yeah, we can just pass in null pointer and it should do what it should. Yeah, we're moving a little slow at the moment. But that's fine. So this should create an entity proxy, create the object from it. So basically we should just spawn FatSack in as he was before, just now we're creating it more directly, and then what we can do is override all the things inside of the proxy itself, and I think we're good. Like, it should work completely after that. So where is it getting angry at us? It's probably getting upset with us because of the null pointer right here. It's probably like, well, if you pass a null pointer for this object, then this other stuff gets all sorts of screwed up. It's like, well, who should own this U object? And be like, well, the world should own this. Makes sense. At least I think it does. And there he is, skating down the hill. Let's make sure he's been spawned properly. Yeah, it looks right. Alright, so what we have to do now is we've created our dude here. So the question is, if this thing is an actor, what do we do? We spawn in a new actor, but then like we have to create a new proxy. So it's like what we want to do is prototype entity actor. So if prototype entity actor equals null pointer, then our actor is going to be this. Otherwise, this is what we want to run. And let's take a look at spawn actor real quick. I like how IntelliSense just totally forgets what things are. Should be in world.h. So there's spawn parameters. I guess what we want to do is take the class here instead. So we're just going to do like get class on the prototype actor. And that should create it of the exact same class. Of the actor that we just spawned. And that should be our proxy clone. Okay, so proxy clone. Basically what we've got is all these things on here. for movement controllers, names, and all this other garbage. And we want to go down the line with these things. So the question is there any reason for us to make these protected as opposed to public? And I don't think so. Like, definitely not anymore. So we're going to make them public. And we're going to say, like, throw this off over here. Alright, so if proxy clone overrides scale, well, that's a separate thing. So transform set translation. If proxy clone override scale, then transform set scale 3D. It's not proxy clone, it's params. And this is scale override. Alright. If params override height, I'm going to say params, this is going to be proxy clone meters tall is params height override. Alright, so if params override AI is not equal null pointer, then we need to set the AI. Where is the AI set? It's the entity data, so it should be like proxy clone entity data dot. Well, what is in the entity data? I guess it's the logic controller, perhaps? There's absolutely no way for us to clone an actor object here, is there? So it's... So I think it's like this logic controller get default object. So it's like a default logic object. Oh, I guess. Right. We don't need to do this yet. Proxy clone logic controller dot equals. Alright, so equals params it's params override AI. The override AI is a logic object. Okay. If params override movement does not equal null pointer, then it's what the movement object is, the movement controller, so it should be proxy clone movement controller equals params and override movement. So if params override movement data does not equal null pointer, then proxy clone, and this is the movement object. It's params and override movement data. Okay, so if params override logic state group. This is the logic controller. Get default object does not equal null pointer. If params logic state group does not equal null pointer, then proxy clone logic controller well, we need to make sure that we're actually, because touching this logic controller right here actually touches our base logic controller and not the logic controller that's actually on the object, so we need to like create a new U object from it if we're going to do any of this crap. Alright, so we need to actually check right here. So if params override logic state group does not equal null pointer, or params override logic state does not equal null pointer, then actually proxy clone logic controller is going to have to equal a clone of this thing. So we're actually going to say the thing that owns this is this proxy clone, and we're making a logic object. We're actually going to get this logic controller get class and our proxy clone is, yeah, it's going to be get default object. So basically, if we're going to be modifying this object, we need to make a new version of it. Otherwise, we can use the base version. Because what would happen is if we modified this object, it's a global object. So like if you spawned a custom fat sack and you customized its AI to like start as scared as opposed to its default start as idle, every single fat sack after that you ever spawn is going to be wrong. Alright, so proxy clone, logic controller, get default object, default. We actually need to go to the logic object and we need to make these two things public. So we need to set the we're going to have to clone all of it, aren't we? We're going to have to do all the same things. we're gonna have to do this again. So if params override logic state does not equal null pointer, then we actually need to make a logic state group clone. This is going to be the default state group does not equal null pointer. Then we're actually going to need to clone the group. And we're going to have the right owners on these things. The owner is going to have to be the logic controller. And it's going to be the default state group, get class, and it's a proxy clone. Logic controller. Default state group is going to be that, and then logic controller. Default state group. Default state equals this override logic state. So if this doesn't equal null pointer, then our logic controller default state group is going to equal the new logic state group. And then if we modify this, then we can do things with it. Oh, what a mess. Alright, so if proxy clone and override name, then we're gonna say that's params, sorry, override name, then it's gonna be proxy clone name. Those params and name. Then we got custom tags and custom properties. So, do we have properties? It should be on the entity data. So, for auto prop and params and custom properties. Should be proxy clone, entity data. Let me see what's in the f-Dashkin entity data should be something with custom properties. Yeah, we got custom properties on there. So if our we have already cloned this proxy object, so we should be good to actually update this. So we should actually just be able to call append on this thing. Since we've already cloned this, it should clone the struct as well. So custom properties should be there, and we should be able to, when we're finished with this, go through let's see, what is add tag to actor? Unreal. C++. So I'm looking up how to add tags to an actor. There's like get components by tag, make noise. And there is a tags array, which is a public variable. So I should just do like actor tags dot add or append. And all I have to do is do params custom tags. And I think that might actually override all the things that we need. Let's see if it compiles properly, if I got all the types right, and I understand how to use this get default object stuff properly. I think I at least got it close. Grr. This is silly. So this T subclass of stuff is just screwing everything up. Because I can't set it to I can't set it to something that I want. And I'm not sure this, like, basically no operator which takes a right hand U-Dashkin logic object, or there's no acceptable conversion. So it's basically, it's trying to create it's trying inside of this assignment operator to convert this override AI thing to a T subclass of a specific type, but it can't do it because it's not actually a subclass of that type. It is of that type. So what I need to do is I mean, that's just fucking stupid. Well, I mean, the other thing I could do here is make all these T subclass ofs, which is probably actually the real solution here, because you're never going to be... Yeah, these are... Yeah, okay, so that's probably what I need to be doing, is these T subclass ofs for the... For which things should it be? It should be the logic state group, the movement data, no. The logic state, yes. And the AI, yes. Should the movement be a T subclass of? I think so as well. The only thing that's not is the movement data itself. I believe everything else is fine. Okay, so that's probably how we should be dealing with it. And it's just the movement data that we should be getting rid of. Alright, let's see if this does it. We're just basically playing around with types and me not realizing that I don't actually want to use pointers for some of these things. I should be using the subclass type because those are, if we're overriding them, they need to be blueprints. Because there's no other reason. I mean, either they need to be blueprints or something deriving from it. What is this? No operator found which takes new Dashkin logic object. So I need to take, this needs to be a U object, is what it's doing, and then we need to cast it to a T subclass of. We basically need to set this equal, like what is this? Yeah, new object pointer. Fine. And we need to cast this to a T subclass of this thing. I mean, it's not correct. We need to. How do we assign the subclass of? Let's see if there's any sort of like cast to T subclass of. How do we do that? How to typecast T subclass of. Let's see. So maybe it's... So I guess specifically it's more like this cast. I mean, well, what's it going to complain about here? It's basically we need to clone this thing, but it's not going to let us, is it? God, these subclass things are so damned annoying. Like, they let you do things nicely in blueprints, but then you try to work with them in C++, and it's just like, come on, like, I'd like to be able to, do something useful with this crap. This is just annoying. So I guess what I need to do is change how the logic object works. So we've got like a logic controller here. And what I would want to do is just set this to like set this thing to null pointer and set like our specific logic controller to this thing. And I need to look where we actually use logic controller inside of entity proxy. Entity proxy data, we actually grab it off of here, so that's going to be inside of what, the entity actor? This is part of why you use getters on stuff, is you can override these get methods. So we can kind of hide some of this. So like if m logic controller equals null pointer, so we can actually, that'll override all the access to that logic controller. We don't want this logic controller. We want proxy clone like get logic controller.